All right, so feel free, please, as we go along, make sure you get up, you go get more pizza. We've got plenty of it here. We've got plenty of beer. We have plenty of water and soda. So please do whatever you need to make yourselves comfortable and fill your belly before you leave. What I'd like to do is, first, obviously, thank everybody for joining us. But before we get any further into it, finish the mouthful of food you have, and then let's have a quick pledge of allegiance. When everyone's ready. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Couple quick housekeeping notes. Silence your phones, but don't put them away. Make sure you keep them out. On the second page of the program, you'll see all the social tags and stuff, and I think that each of the presenters will have some of their own as they get up here, and so you'll have an opportunity. If you're active on social, live tweet the presentations, talk about what you're seeing, make sure you engage with people, and help us spread the word about what I think, and hopefully you all agree, is kind of a pretty cool program that we've managed to put together for these veterans. I do want to point out we're lucky to have special guests with us here. We've got a number of guests, but particularly for those of you that followed in the news recently, the death of General Hal Moore, who was at LZ X-ray in Battle of Yadrin Valley. The story of we were soldiers once and young. We have Larry Gwynn here with us from the North Shore, who was actually the Alpha Company XO of that battle. Thank you very much. I'm Ed Marsh. Most of you know me. Most of you know that my day job is actually as a strategy consultant. I work with companies that are industrial manufacturers. I work on revenue and strategy, and I'm a board advisor. But my night job, or it's now become my day job as well, and in fact I brought my wife along with me because this is date night, this is our chance to actually spend some time together, is the commander of the VFW Post 1093 in Ipswich, one of the leaders of the North Shore Veterans Collaborative. And, you know, as a veteran myself, and my wife and I are the parents of a veteran who was in the Air Force and DIA for 10 years, of an active duty Rifle Company XO in the Army right now, and of another young man who will go into the Army when he graduates from Vanderbilt with a VOTC commission in about a year and a half. So we're active in veteran stuff. It's part of who we are. And even though we live on the North Shore, which is a lot different than living in Columbus, Georgia, or Virginia Beach, or Dayton, Ohio, or someplace, you know, where you have these big communities, it's important that we engage with veterans, and that as veterans, that we help the community understand that we're not just these knuckle-dragging mouth breathers that they often assume that we are. We've got people with incredible business acumen. We've got people with incredible educational backgrounds. We've got an incredible array of people, including diversity across a number of different metrics, no matter how you slice it. And those are veterans, and they're veterans that are on the North Shore. So that's part of the reason it's such a passion for me. Now, at VFW Post 1093, we're trying to kind of get a little bit caught up into, you know, move beyond funerals and parades, do some other things in the community. We've got a hashtag. We're hashtag more than a bar. We've actually got 2 hashtags. We're hashtag make a difference. And we're committed to doing more than a typical VFW post, or at least the perception of a typical VFW post. We're very active with the library in town, with the public library. We run communal programs with them. We're active with the YMCA of the North Shore. We have a lot of programs going. In fact, Shaw from the VA Vet Center in Lowell is here with us this evening. Thanks for coming. Some of his folks met with the folks from the YMCA of the North Shore the other day to talk about how we can build this collaboration. They're planning a family pool day. They're planning a Vietnam Veterans event, all through the YMCA of the North Shore, which reaches from Salem up through Pelham, New Hampshire, and has a membership list, I think, of 35,000 people, if I remember correctly. We're also bringing the Red Sox Foundation and the Home Base Project up to the North Shore. We've done some really cool programs on the North Shore with that group. There hasn't been veterans activity on the North Shore. So before I ramble too much and talk about the stuff that we're doing, the point is that there's a lot of activity. For instance, Team Red, White, Blue bike rides and workouts and WODs that we have going as well. So trying to appeal to a wide range of demographics, veterans from a variety of different conflicts and ages, a lot of stuff that we have won. Now, we're here because the premise of this evening is that veterans make great entrepreneurs. And we're going to hear from a number of aspiring entrepreneurs. We have entrepreneurs among us as well who are veterans. What's funny is, I was having a conversation with somebody from a software company in Cambridge last week, and they said, oh, I love the idea of hiring veterans. You know, they're going to be on time and they're going to work hard. And of course, you know, that piece of it, if you've seen the McRaven speech, great. If you haven't seen it, look it up on YouTube, the Make Your Bed speech. That part of it is absolutely embedded in veterans. But, and sadly, it's not in many other members of the community in general, but that's kind of a given. People are surprised when I talk about the commander's intent part of an operations order. The piece of an operations order that actually empowers the lowest ranking people in a unit to understand what their boss has to get done, so that they've got the latitude and the foresight and the vision and the knowledge and the transparency of communication with an organization to be able to execute when everything falls apart. When you can't communicate, when you can't check with somebody to get the permission, when you can't say, what should I do, A or B? When you got to decide on your own. And that's embedded in people in the military. And that's something that often folks aren't familiar with that just don't get. They kind of associate it with the discipline piece, which is important. It's great to know somebody's going to show up on time, the weather's crummy, if, you know, the Monday after the Super Bowl, that kind of stuff. But the ability to measure risk, to make decisions, to operate independently, those are incredible attributes of the military brings. One of the other things that is often misunderstood, I think, particularly in a community like the North Shore, is the diversity in the military. Now, diversity has become kind of a buzzword. But in the military, it's not. It's not according to a formula, at least not, you know, kind of at the unit level. Everybody is a person who's there, whether they can pump the ruck as well as somebody else, or stand their guard without falling asleep, whatever the case may be. It does not matter about gender. It does not matter about race. It does not matter about creed. My experience growing up on the North Shore was pretty sheltered. In the military, I experienced diversity in a way that has absolutely accompanied me through the rest of my life, where I've never found something similar in a civilian organization. So people often also don't understand that about veterans. Another reason entrepreneurship tends to be a great option for veterans, sometimes we've got pretty high standards. Sometimes we get pretty pissed off when the person we're working for doesn't expect to work harder than us, doesn't expect to eat less, doesn't expect to be able to do the things that we can do, hasn't done them, isn't willing to demonstrate that they're willing to do them. We've got high standards, we get impatient with that. So if a veteran is in that situation, it can often be a best situation to work for themselves. Some veterans have PTSD and invisible wounds of war. Aspects of living their everyday life that mean that they are particularly well suited to be their own boss. There's a lot of reasons why veterans are well suited to be vetrepreneurs, and you're going to see a lot of that in the group that we have tonight. Now, VetToCEO, unlike other kind of entrepreneurship programs, is a little bit unique. It's not only startups. It's not only established ventures that have $1 million a year in revenue. VetToCEO takes veterans who may know they want to be entrepreneurs or may not be sure. Maybe they're in the process of transition. Maybe they've gotten out and they're asking themselves, do I want to work for the man or do I want to be the man? Maybe they want to buy a business. Phil Thomas, who I'll introduce in a minute, and I have spent time talking about the fact there's a huge number of small businesses that are owned by baby boomers that are in a situation where they're going to have to sell. And they're going to be selling into an oversupply of businesses being sold because of all boomers. So there's going to be great opportunities for veterans who are interested in some sort of a sweat equity arrangement to buy into a business and join an ongoing business by buying it. There'll be great opportunities. So VetToCEO covers that. It also covers franchises. And it presents things from the perspective which really struck me. We had an opportunity about a week and a half ago, kind of some introspective moments as we did some videotaping after we had finished our last session. One of the things that a number of the participants talked about, they used slightly different words, but the words were amazingly similar. The consistent theme was, I've been to business school, I've got a graduate degree, I got an undergraduate business degree, that sort of a lead-in, and none of it really made sense. It was all this academic gibberish. VetToCEO has taken all of that and in 7 sessions distilled it into a language that's intuitive to veterans, using operations order format, using words, using terminology, drawing analogies between military orders and a business plan, that suddenly, for these people that are extraordinarily well educated from very fine schools with impressive degrees, suddenly kind of distilled that academic teaching into practical experience by virtue of VetToCEO. So again, I don't want to ramble too much, but it's, for those of you that aren't familiar with the program, to give you a bit of context about it. Now, there's a lot of work that's gone into this, but there's a lot of people that we need to recognize as well. Certainly our sponsors are first, EBSCO, and I'm grateful we have one of the judges, Randall Esbers from EBSCO, and I see Catherine Reed, who's the SVP of Personnel at EBSCO, who's joined us this evening as well. So thank you very much to EBSCO for the very generous sponsorship, $30,000 that's allowed us to put together this startup funding for the veterans. It's a, if you're not familiar with EBSCO, it's a privately owned company, does more than $1 billion a year in revenue. They've got, 3,000 people on the North Shore and another 3,000 in North Carolina or something like that. It's kind of a sleeper. People aren't familiar with it. They do databases. They sell database access, aggregated databases to libraries and to institutions. And they're growing very quickly. If anybody knows programmers that are looking for opportunities and kind of the idyllic setting on the North Shore with a reverse commute, no traffic, and all the other kinds of attributes, then by all means, they're a great place to look. We're also sponsored by the Institution for Savings, which is based in Newburyport. Everyone on the North Shore knows the Institution for Savings is very generous, supports a number of initiatives, and they were gracious to support us in this as well. And they're joined by First Ipswich Bank, Merrimack Valley Distributors, and Commodore Builders. And of course, MassChallenge is very gracious to host us this evening. Thank you, Ryan. Let's have a quick round of applause, please, for the sponsors. Thank you. We've got 2 folks that are here with us tonight that have been with this program every week, kind of the face of the program. They've been our facilitators, and I'd like to just quickly introduce them. Phil Thomas, a Navy vet. He's got a long career as an entrepreneur. He's been a turnaround specialist. He's taken companies public. He started companies. He sold companies. He's had a number of different exits. Now he's a consultant. He works as a kind of a CEO coach. Is that a fair way to say it? So a very experienced business person. It's been great to have him as one of the facilitators. Obviously, Vietnam vet, and then accompanying him, we have Ed Brixey, who's a Iraq-Afghanistan vet, who is a combat veteran, infantry squad leader. He's led soldiers in combat in a number of battles and both theaters. He left the Army and decided he was going to commit to his education. Got his undergrad business degree at Salem State, went to Babson, got his entrepreneurial MBA at Babson, and now he's running his own consulting business. So he's a veteran entrepreneur himself. He's running his own consulting business as a change management and what's the other category? Leadership development consulting firm. That's called Blue Board Management, which for many of you from the military, for all of you who are civilians, won't mean anything. For many of you from the military, may not mean anything as well, but if you're familiar with the Army, you're familiar with the fact that infantrymen in the Army, after they pass certain qualification, receive a blue cord, which they wear on their shoulder. So there's kind of a colloquial reference in the name of his company, which refers to his background as an infantryman, Blue Cord Management. So, Alice, please join me in thanking Phil and Ed for their work. We've had incredible guest speakers every week, and unfortunately they're not all here to thank, but certainly our judges have committed time this evening. And as I've mentioned each week when the guest speakers have joined us, for people that are busy, time is the most incredible gift. Obviously there's great advice, there's business insights, but to take the time to fight traffic, to sit here, to spend time with us is an incredible gift from these judges. Let me quickly introduce them. Randall Esper, VP of Sales Operations at EBSCO. He's an Army veteran of the Army National Guard for 24 years. Retired 4-star General David McKiernan. He doesn't need any introduction from people that read the news during the height of the Afghanistan campaign. He was commissioned as an Army Second Lieutenant in 1972 when he graduated from William & Mary, and held a number of roles for 30-some years throughout his career in the Army, and retired as commander of the forces in Afghanistan and the International Security Assistance Force. Dan Greenwald is an entrepreneur who founded, grew, and runs White Rhino. It's an advertising and marketing firm which employs, what is it, about 30 people? 25 people. It's a big payroll enough to cover every week. So when you talk about an entrepreneur, he gets it, he understands what's involved. He specializes in healthcare and technology areas, and the firm has won a number of awards. He actually participated as one of our guest speakers one week remotely from Florida. He heard the weather was going to be bad, he took off, so we had to grab it back to him first. We had him go to webinar. Buck Rader is a Vietnam combat vet and a former Marine. He's an entrepreneur who, not just one entrepreneur, but like 3 or 4 times. Started a development and construction company, built hundreds of houses, and built miles of roads in New Hampshire. Then he decided he was bored with that, so then he went and started a telecom company. In fact, I don't know if you remember when conference calling was really cool, like when it just started. Well, they built a device that they would sell for a ton of money to MCI or Sprint or wherever it set up a conference calling service. Took that company public. Then I guess kind of yearned for the gut churning hassle of real estate development and went back into that business. And then, as if that wasn't enough, then restaurants and all kinds of other stuff. So he's got a long entrepreneurial background. And Jill Beresford, the former CEO of a public company, so she comes obviously with a very strong set of credentials as a CEO with that public company background, but now with a long career in management coaching and turnarounds and consulting. So we've got a great array of backgrounds, some veterans, some non-veteran, a number of different disciplines. And again, all of these people are very gracious to share their time. Please join me in thanking you. So now the stars of the show, the vetrepreneurs. You've got information about them in your programs. You can read a little bit about them. But let me give you a little context. We started in early January with 27 of them. Tonight we're down to 6. Last week we thought we were going to have 7. And prepping for the business plan was, it was kind of a wake-up call. And so we've got 6 now. The ranging age from about 25 to 55. We've got, and promise me no Coast Guard jokes, we've got veterans of the Army, the Navy, the Marines, and the Air Force, not the Coast Guard. Some jump from planes, some kind of, lurk beneath the waves in submarines. There's some combat vets here who may well have served under General McKiernan in Afghanistan. Some have started and run businesses before. Some just have an idea. Some are currently running businesses. One recently bought a business. Some joined the service after college. We've got a Wellesley graduate with a creative writing major, and some joined the service right out of high school. Many have taken advantage of GI Bill and vocational rehab education afterwards. Some haven't. Most are balancing day jobs. Most are young parents. Many are full-time students. So when you talk about that make your bed commitment, that attitude, that determination, that drive to get it done that you often associate with veterans, I'll tell you this group certainly represents it. And even those who are no longer in the program gave us a real kind of perspective. Everyone here is going to remember those that were there with us the first night. Is going to remember a young lady who told us that she joined the Army because she was homeless. And a year after she got out of the Army, she bought her first house. And the reason she was going to do this program was because she was bound and determined that she was going to control her destiny. Unfortunately, she didn't stick with us the whole way through the program. Hopefully, if we run another iteration, we'll have her. But the point is that that breadth of backgrounds, that diversity among veterans on the North Shore, adds an immeasurable wealth to the community. So now it's their turn. Each of them is going to have 12 minutes. The judges have had an opportunity to review an executive summary that each of these veteraneurs has prepared, not to exceed 4 pages. So the judges had a chance to read through those, had a chance to formulate some of their own questions. And each of these participants now has 12 minutes. We're going to just quickly run through them one after another in an order of random drawing. And it's their decision how much they want to spend pitching with a deck, dancing around, whatever they want to do, or soliciting and answering questions from the judges. So what I would ask you, keep those phones out, keep them on silent, but keep them out. Make sure you refer to the hashtags and the handles in the literature here. If they share with you some of theirs during their presentation, please help share their story as well. All right, so let's hear from them. First up is James Wise.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
My name is James Wise. I'm an Army veteran, and I'm one of the owners of Tactical Dynamics Firearms Training. Tactical Dynamics, we are currently the second largest firearms training company in Massachusetts, and we intend to become the largest and most technologically advanced firearms training company in the Northeast. Excuse me. We're going to accomplish this with a multi-phase plan. Tonight, I'm going to talk about phase 1, which we're in now, and how we plan to transition to phase 2 within the next 12 months. First, though, I'd like to introduce you to our team. Tactical Dynamics has 3 owners. We're all full-time police officers. We're all veterans as well. We each hold a Master Firearms Instructor rating, and my PowerPoint is not working for me right now. Anyways, on the left there is Dennis Donovan. He is our Chief Operating Officer. He handles logistics. He's been a police officer for just over 25 years. He's been training people the same amount of time. Dennis is an Army veteran, and he was in the Gulf War. He deployed to the Gulf War. In the middle there, we have Rob Curran. He is our CEO, and he is the brains of our operation. Some of you might find this to be odd because Rob is a former Marine. Yes. All right. He handles all of our tech issues. He handles our website, our marketing, all these types of things. And my name is James Wise. I am the Director of Training. I handle all the hiring, instructor development, the course development, and I do most of the business-to-business transactions. I also have the unique experience where I manage the facility of our current largest competitor, so I have a lot of insight from that. In addition to the owners, we currently employ 13 instructors, most of them being veterans as well. And we have key resources in place for things like legal, accounting, real estate, and key advisor for firearms retail. So anyways, I'll take you through a quick history of our company. The company was started back in 2011 by my partners, Rob and Dennis. They were working together as police officers. They were on patrol. It was about 3 a.m. They were discussing what could they do outside of law enforcement. Now, both Rob and Dennis, they worked as firearms instructors for their police departments. And they said, you know what, we could start a firearms training company. And Rob said, that's a great idea. What are we going to name it? Dennis said, I don't know, but it has to be something cool. It has to sound tactical. And Rob said, you know what? Absolutely, but we've got to have some sort of dynamics to it. They said, you know what, we'll name it Tactical Dynamics. It's stuck ever since. In 2013, I started working for TacDyn, and shortly after they brought me on as a partner. 2011 to 2015, it was tough times for the company. We were grossing less than $60,000 a year. We weren't really making any money, but we weren't losing any. The company was more of a headache than anything else. So at the end of 2015 into 2016, we had an epiphany. We said, we have this A+ product, but we can't get our message out. What do we need to do? We need to learn how to market. Our CEO, Rob, he took the initiative. He began taking online marketing classes. And we implemented what he learned into our training program. By doing so, we started filling our classes. We over doubled the number of signups that we had for people in our training program. Where we really took a turn for the best is when we were able to implement a sales mechanism into our class that would get our students to sign up and pay for an additional class before they left that day. And that allows us to retain over 55% of our students into another course, all right? So from 2015 to 2016, we were doing about $60,000 in revenue. 2016, we did just over $250,000. We went from having 0 instructors to now having 13 instructors. We went from having 1 training location to having 5 in Massachusetts, 1 in Rhode Island, and 1 in Connecticut. In 2017, we project with our current phase that we're going to do about just over $400,000 in revenue, all right? We're also going to transition to phase 2, which I'm going to talk about, which involves us building a large training facility that will house a gun range, a retail gun store, and some classrooms, all right? So what I'll do now is I'll talk about the market opportunity for those 3 segments. The first one is going to be training. To get a firearms license in Massachusetts, what a civilian has to do is they're required by law to take a safety class. We provide that class, and that's our primary customer there, all right? There's over 30,000 people in Massachusetts applying for a license each year. Most companies charge $100 for that class, including ourselves, and we've identified that as a $3 million a year market. But people don't just want that bare minimum basic class. People want to learn how to effectively use handguns, rifles, shotguns, how to defend their home, conceal carry, and take advanced training from there on out. When we build this facility for phase 2, we project we'll be able to double the number of students we currently have. The next portion is the shooting facility. So in Massachusetts, over 400,000 people currently have a firearms license, and that number's increasing. These people need someplace safe and convenient to train and practice shooting their guns. We're going to have 12 shooting lanes at this facility. From my experience, from our market research, we'll be able to sustain over 2,000 annual members, leaving room for people to come in off the street and rent a lane and conduct our training as well. And then finally, the last segment is the retail services. So retail gun shops in the United States, they do $3.1 billion. And what we're going to be able to do is sell guns, sell ammunition and related equipment. The average gun owner will purchase 5 guns in their lifetime, and they need to be able to purchase ammunition and everything else for those. Each one of these segments will build upon each other. So a new client, they'll be able to come in, take our class to get their license, purchase their first gun, and have some place to effectively and safely train with that firearm. So our competitors and our advantages, we have a whole bunch of different competitors in different sectors or different segments. And we identify those as gun clubs for the shooting range. There's 350 gun shops in Massachusetts, but for time's sake, I'm going to just cover our 2 biggest competitors right now. Where we intend to build this facility, it's going to be south of Boston, where 93 and 95 meet. Our largest competitors in that area will be American Firearms School in North Attleboro and Mass Firearms School in Holliston. The major competitive advantages we have, the first one's going to be our social media marketing. We have a stronger social media following than both companies, and we have a very strong marketing campaign with especially Facebook and other social media avenues. The next, and I think the biggest advantage that we have is our student retention. Like I said before, we retain over 55% of our students. Our biggest competitor, they're retaining less than 10%, all right? And then finally, our membership model. So if somebody wants to join a gun range to go practice, whether it be a gun store or gun club or it be a private shooting facility, they have to generally pay a large lump sum for an annual membership, usually being $200, $300, $400, sometimes even more. And we understand that that's not easy for many people. So what we've done is we've created a membership program that people can break it up from month to month to month, It's much easier to spend $25 a month than it is to spend $300 in one lump sum. For our marketing, I touched on it briefly with our social media. Another key avenue for us is our customer referrals. When people take our classes, they become incredibly loyal to us and they send us a lot of business. And part of this is because of our key customer service, and it's our follow-up with our customers. After somebody takes a class with my company, they're going to receive a letter in the mail, they're going to receive an email, and we're going to continue targeting them on social media. Not only that, but every single person that comes through our training program, they receive my business card. It has my email address, it has my cell phone number on it. So anyone who's trained for us can contact one of the owners directly to answer any questions. It's been a great avenue for customer service, but also we've been able to use it for our sales as well. So for investment, just to save some time for questions, we have a commitment of about $1.3 million to put this facility together and stock the gun store. And any additional revenue that we're able to generate, that's going to go towards permitting, licensing for state and federal level, and building out a media campaign for this facility that we're going to build. As far as our exit strategy goes, it's my intent and the intent of my business partners to build this business as large as we possibly can, and then eventually pass it along to our family. So that's everything I have for you. I'd like to open it up for any questions.
Where are you training now?
So currently in Massachusetts, we have 5 locations. The first is going to be North Attleboro, Foxborough, Medford, Worcester, and Fall River.
So James, your market area is limited to Massachusetts.
It's for the licensing, because of the law, that's our #1 segment. It's where we generate the most revenue. But we do have satellite locations in Rhode Island and Connecticut where we do run some of our more advanced training.
You said you had a 55% retention rate rolling people over into other classes. And there's a membership to shoot at the...
So when we build that facility, we're going to have that membership, absolutely.
Okay, do you have to have a membership to take the class? Or can you take the class without a membership?
You don't. So right now with our training program, again, the majority of our customers, it's somebody that they're new to guns, they want to get a firearms license.
Do you know how many you convert into a membership? So instead of just converting from class to class, how many buy?
Because we're not selling it yet, I can't give you that number, but I will tell you from my experience, our largest competitor, Mass Firearms School, I managed that facility. Working there, when they first started selling memberships, I sold 1,000 of them just on my own. And then the business and other instructors were also selling them. So that's how we project those numbers.
5%.
Absolutely.
You've got $1 million from private investors. Is the private investor own the building and you're going to rent that from him?
So that's exactly what we're doing. He's going to purchase the property, build the building itself, the build out, and then he's going to give us a lease to own option. It is a family member of one of my business partners.
Yeah, you mentioned that you're doing a lot of social media marketing. Is that the primary marketing vehicle that you're using?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you why. Our largest competitor, they have a $20,000 a month marketing budget for Google alone, and we knew that we could not penetrate that against them right now. And another key advantage this has been for us, their customer acquisition rate is $20 to $25 a person for training. Ours is less than $7. Any other questions?
What's your projected revenue?
So once we have that facility built, we're projecting we're going to do $1.3 million in the first year.
What do you think to build up?
Yep, so land, we're expecting $350,000 for the purchase of the land. The actual building, the shell, we're projecting $200,000. And to build the range, we're looking at $400,000. And then to stock the gun store, we're looking at about another $150,000. Where we have, I guess, an advantage is if we run into cost issues or there's some unforeseen costs, we don't need to immediately go into the gun store. It's a feasible business, still having the classrooms and still having the gun range and the membership program. So we can kind of ease into the retail portion if we needed to.
I did my math right, we're looking at $750,000 in facility costs, not.
That plus the land, absolutely.
And so if somebody's gonna buy that, you're gonna pay them rent, basically.
That's it, and it's gonna be a lease to own, contract. It's a huge benefit, we're very fortunate and appreciative of it.
Anyway, thanks everyone for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it. Special thanks to the VFW Post 1093 for hosting the VetToCEO program. My name is Nick Ford. I'm the president and founder of Black Dog Merchant Solutions. Not to waste any of my time, but if it looks like I cut my hair myself, it's because I did. It's a new thing I'm trying out, but my wife did the back, so if it's a little choppy, that's not me. Down to business. Who am I? I'm a combat veteran of the 3rd Ranger Battalion. I served 2003 to 2007 in both Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm a full-time student at UMass Boston. I got my associates at Bunker Hill in criminal justice, and a couple semesters shy of my bachelor's in CJ from UMass. I'm a full-time police officer. I actually work with Jimmy Wise, the last presenter, on the Transit Police Department. I've been doing that for 5 years. I work in the Roxbury neighborhood of Boston. Forgive me if I'm going a little fast. I want to make sure I have time for questions. I'm a husband and father of a very patient 28-year-old woman and a very impatient 14-month-old baby who's scarily beautiful. Our mission statement: Black Dog Merchant Solutions is committed to being a trusted resource of the veteran community by offering ATM machine solutions that support veteran charities. So basically what that means is there's tons of ATM companies out there. There's no doubt about it. It's not a new industry by any means. What my company does is we deliver a portion of the surcharge revenue, which I'm sure everyone here is familiar with, the $2.50, $3 that someone spends to withdraw money. That is automatically donated to a veteran charity of our customers' choosing. And I'm going to get into more of that in a little bit. Quick facts: the LLC was formed in April 2016, so we're just coming up on a year old. We currently have 4 ATM machines installed on the North Shore of Massachusetts. One is in the VFW Post in Ipswich, one is at the MBETS Post in Ipswich, one is at the Shanghai Moon Restaurant in Bedford, which is a little different, but we'll take it. And the other one is in the Winchester VFW, which is my first ATM placement. We have charity relationships established already with the Glen Doherty Memorial Fund, Stop Soldier Suicide, and Boston's Wounded Vet Run. We've dispensed $121,240 in cash so far to patrons. The problem: so many veteran-oriented establishments are cash only, and surprisingly they don't have an ATM. While there's nothing on paper that supports exactly why this is the case, I think, being a veteran and having dealt with veterans, especially veterans from the older crowd, no offense to anyone in the room, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. A lot of people have that idea. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We've been cash only for years and years and years. We don't want an ATM. They picture the big massive machine, the huge installation, the risk of theft, et cetera, et cetera. Some business owners are simply unaware of the benefits of having an ATM, which I'll also get into. And last but not least, I think there's a serious lack of trust between veterans and outsiders. These people that currently, I mean, this is obviously not how I dress day to day, nor is it how I dress when I go and refill my ATM machines. But if I walked into a VFW Post looking like this and called the commander over or the bar manager over and said, "Hey, I can save you guys," they'd be like, "Yeah, take a hike, see you later, we're all set." So I think a lot of it is a trust issue where people they don't want to hear it. You're just out the door before you even get to tell them what your business is all about. And I know this personally because when I approached the Ipswich VFW, the bar manager there, before declaring myself as a veteran, he was like, "No, we're all set," and walked into his car and drove off. So now he knows who I am, and he's warmed up to me, and I've since installed the ATM there, and I'm a member there. But that's the type of lack of trust. That it was instant. He didn't want to know anything else about me. Current solutions out there. Cardtronics, everyone knows them, nationwide ATM people. They have like 40,000 ATM machines out there. Their big clients are 7-Eleven. AP Vending, right around the corner from me, they have a handful of ATMs in the area, Eastern ATM and Atlantic ATM. There's nothing wrong with what they're doing now. They're just offering ATM services to everybody. Anybody that wants one where there's going to be a significant return, it's going to be worth it for them, they'll give it to them, which again is fine. We're going to offer ATM services that actually make a difference, and my company specifically markets to veteran-owned businesses, VFWs, and veteran-oriented social establishments. Our solution, we're going to provide ATM machines that actually appeal to veterans, both veteran patrons and veteran business owners and bar managers of VFWs. We're a veteran-owned business, that's a point. It auto donates to veteran charity. It's at no additional cost to the patron other than the surcharge fee. And a lot of major banks pay that fee back anyway. And it comes with a nifty patriotic wrap like this, and it says right at the bottom, support our veterans, use this ATM. It looks different. It looks like that ATM belongs in a VFW somewhere, which that one currently is. A little bit of recognition, Nick Black, Stop Soldier Suicide, said this is a huge opportunity for nonprofits like his, and Bob Metz, the Vice Commander of VFW Post 1093, offering an easy way for our members and guests to contribute to help reduce the tragedy of soldier suicide. The Ipswich ATM donates every transaction to Stop Soldier Suicide, and again, this is a percentage of $2.50 surcharge. So these are micro donations. It's nothing earth-shattering. But it's continuous, it's consistent. Every single month, every single transaction, those donations are happening. And those donations are actually ACH directly into the bank account of the charity, so there's no middleman. Market opportunity, there's 21.1 million veterans out there who's going to be our customer base. We're business to business in the sense that my business does business with other veteran-owned businesses, VFWs and vets. And we're also B2C because we have actual customers and consumers using the ATM services. There's 21,900 VFW posts, American Legions, and AMVETS posts nationwide. The market is expected to grow 5%, or a little over 5%, before 2021. Our revenue structure, we make all of our money through surcharge fees and the interchange. Without getting into the dynamics of how the ATM industry works with fees, surcharge fee is obvious. We collect a percentage, the majority of the percentage, a smaller percentage goes to the veteran charity, and then another percentage goes back to the business that hosts us, which is the incentive that VFW posts have. They're getting a steady revenue, flow of revenue. Granted, again, it's nothing earth-shattering, but it's consistent, and they're not doing anything for it. Sponsorships and advertising space, those are the two things that we haven't yet explored, but I'm going to. That's in the plans. Sponsorships, we're going to try to cut the cost of our ATM machines. ATM machines are expensive. They're like $2,300 a piece. This is a very, very long-term business. It's not, in a year you're going to break even. Our average break-even point right now per ATM is right around 18 months, which isn't terrible, but those are for better performing ATMs. There are some ATMs that we have out there, out of those 4, that are longer. A sponsorship will work where I will solicit sponsorships from local businesses, like my local landscaping company, and ask them, hey, would you like to, they're basically buying, so long as they actually are veteran friendly, they're buying that credential, because I'm going to put their logo on the side of the ATM machine that says this ATM is sponsored by, Artistic Landscapes, my local landscaping company. $1,000 for a year, rotated out each year. Advertising space works the same way without making the ATM look like a NASCAR, because that's not what I want. Again, it's going to be a very, very long-term game. $433 a month right now with the 4 ATMs, which is not a lot. However, it is a passive source of revenue. The only thing that I have to do is go out basically once a week and fill the ATMs with cash. Marketing and growth, we're going to incentivize referrals by charities. These charities, it will serve them well by referring my business to people that they do business with, because when they refer my business, I will say, okay, this ATM that I installed that you just referred to me is going to donate to your charity. We're going to try to use their donor base for marketing. Sponsorships, which I just explained. VA federal government contracting, which I'm in the process going through the VA right now for the verification to be a service-disabled veteran-owned small business. They award $3 billion worth of contracts every year. And local BNI membership, which I've been to a couple BNI meetings so far, just to explore. Nobody in there is doing ATM machines. Nobody in there is doing credit card processing, which are the two things that Black Dog Merchant Solutions does. Management partners, Nick Ford, founder and president. I'm a lifetime career, a lifetime problem solver, basically. Everything that I've done in my lifetime has revolved around solving problems. I worked 5 years for the Museum of Fine Arts as a network engineer. Prior to that, I was an Army Ranger jumping out of planes. I don't know why I went over to IT, but I loved it. Now I'm a police officer where I solve everybody else's problems, which is great. And now I'm an entrepreneur trying to get through this and solve problems. PAI, they're the #2 private ATM owner in America. They do all our processing, customer service, keep all the numbers, and they're there if somebody's card gets eaten or somebody has a problem, they call the 800 number. Annie Benning, our ATM supplier, that's where we purchase our ATMs from. Jay Satoris, trusty accountant, and took the time out of his busy schedule to teach me how to use QuickBooks. Fenner Nicholson, our legal team, that did all our contract work. This is a tough thing to project. I haven't been around for a year. My longest ATM that I've had has been out there for 9 months. So it's a tough thing to try to figure out where it's going to go in terms of revenue. So I put together this graph, and that's, you can see the longest one is the Winchester VFW. Very smart people in this room, I don't have to go over this. This is basically the stream of revenue for my 4 ATM machines. Financial projections, not to bore you with numbers. Self-explanatory. We're going to try to increase ATMs by 6 a year. That's the current goal. And by 2020 having 30 customers out there. Which then we're going to talk about cash logistics and contracting with places like Loomis and Brinks and so on and so forth, because that's where the cash is going to come from, and they load all the ATMs at obviously a fee. I'm not big enough to do that yet, but once I am, that is the next step in getting the cash in the machines. Exit strategy, this is my daughter, partner Claire Ford. She's going to be the next president at some point. She will be the type of president that knows more than her employees. She will just not be daddy's girl who's now the boss. And that is all I have for now. I definitely, close to running out of time, but I want to open up any questions anybody has.
We're taking questions from the judges.
Just the two. Somehow I don't think you're thinking about 30 machines, you're just kind of talking about reaching out and trying to get other people to be able to submit.
Cut the cost down for the sponsorships.
And I'm just curious, because you didn't just really explain 30 machine
Right.
part-time jobs.
Right.
Moving, all right.
So are you asking, did I include the sponsorship
Yeah,
numbers?
right.
I didn't, because I want to know basically the worst case scenario. I didn't factor in any cutting of costs of the machines. I didn't factor in the sponsorships, didn't factor in the advertisements. I'm not doing it yet. I'm not comfortable with including, because I don't want it to turn into a fantasy type thing. I'd rather have the bare bones numbers.
Are you amortizing the machines in that figure?
I'm sorry?
Are you amortizing the cost? I'm assuming you're having to buy the machines.
Yes.
And you're buying them yourself now, but when you get up to 30, 2,300 or 2,000 dollars in groceries, that's a sizable amount of money. How are you going to get that?
So to pay for the machines then. Yeah. So basically through advertisements, and I definitely want to ramp up the sponsorships. I'm going to rely heavily on sponsorships, and I've been thinking about buying the machines and leasing them out over however long the machine is there. Not a lease to own type thing, just a small number a month that people are willing to pay, where I'm not only going to make my money back, but then more as the machine. Because once the machines are in, the chances of someone saying, hey, we want this out are pretty slim.
How much is each machine?
About $2,300 right now.
Okay, and so you charge $250 for the fee when people use it. What's your takeaway after you paid the people who service it for you and you give the money to donation to?
$1.87.
$1.87.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what you get for each transaction.
Correct.
$1.87.
So those numbers that we saw, are those gross numbers for 250 or are those the dollars?
No, that's the $1.87.
How do your fees compare with competition?
Right now, the competition and the nationwide average is right around $3. So I would say it's lower than average than the competition is right now. I found that in veteran businesses, like the company AP Vending from Raleigh, I learned about them, so I wanted to put a ATM in the Raleigh VFW, and it was there. This is serviced by AP Vending. They tend to charge right around $250, $275, sometimes a little higher. So I would say in the grand scheme of things, they're lower than average.
I actually did. So do you have a contingency, a sole proprietor, your own business, right? Do you have a contingency plan, something for it to happen to you?
I don't. Oh, I won't even try to say that I do it. I don't. I hope nothing happens. I hope nothing happens either.
Your age, you live forever.
Thankfully, I've lived this long. Yes, sir.
So just a question around, I like the idea that you're donating to veterans charities. How are you going to communicate that to the user?
So the ATM wraps themselves, the big American flag thing at the very bottom, it says it right there. The problem is it's at the very bottom. So I've been developing the actual screens of the ATMs. You can customize it to say whatever you want. So one of the ways that I plan on advertising it is on the screen itself and saying this machine donates to this charity. Also, I mean, my social media presence, again, isn't anything spectacular, but I am definitely trying to get myself separate from the Cardtronics of the world and these huge ATM companies in that, wow, these machines donate automatically and the company gets to pick which charity they donate to. So if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry, I'm talking fast and way over the limit. Any other questions?
Just curious, the servicing, what's the reliability of these machines? You have to go in and reprogram, you have to reverse them, so people kick it and after.
Over the past year, I haven't had to do that. Again, that's a year, not a whole lot of time. These machines that are built now they're built very well, and these aren't located in what I would consider high-risk areas. They're generally very respectable, veterans, stuff like that. I know sometimes people have tempers, but if somebody kicks the bottom of these ATMs, they're going to hurt their toe a lot. And I drill them into the ground and everything else, so it would hurt a lot. But to answer your question, in short, they're very low maintenance so far.
What's to stop you from raising your revenue transaction $5?
I think that would. What was the last
Are you
part?
regulated?
No.
Okay. Second question, have you given any consideration to crowdfunding on a veteran-owned business model that you could then probably raise quite a bit of money with?
I haven't looked into it in depth, but I'm definitely at the point where I have 4 ATMs out there now. I put my own money in it now. I'm at the point where it's time to explore those options because I've used up the savings that I'm comfortable using up. And now it's time to figure out what the next step is with the fund. So I haven't looked. Good.
Thank you, Nick.
Sorry, I went way over time. Thank you so much.
My name is Eric Gibson, and I'm a United States Air Force veteran. And I'd like to talk to you about our concept tonight of visualization. Basically, we took game technology and we're trying to apply it to a business-to-business scenario. And so far, so good. But let me bring you through it, what we've seen, what we've found, and hopefully you can understand the concept of what we're trying to do here. Brief agenda, I'll try to tell you about visualization. Sometimes we call it some of the emerging technologies that are happening out there, examples of what we're doing, and kind of a unique approach that we're using specifically because of the customers that we're working with right now. The value proposition is mostly time. Competition kind of validates our market. I'll go through that. The revenue model, financial. We don't have any revenues right now, but I'll attempt to go through a 3-year model with you. Team, very small, but very talented. And if I've got any gas left in the tank, we'll do some Q&A at the end. Basically, what we're doing is we're rendering operational activities in a 3D game environment. The technology is already there. We're just refocusing the technology. Gaming, spent millions, hundreds of millions, gaming technology. We're just refocusing to a business environment. A few examples that we've considered and think there might be a rich environment there for us. Lean manufacturing. We can take a floor, we can visualize a floor, we can make a virtual floor. We can, before there's any physical movement, we can put a layout there with equipment. You don't have to do anything. It's just, we're going to create that for you in a 3D environment. Robotics, it's a very rich environment, especially the Northeast here. Kiva Robotics, Quiet Logistics, many people using robotics here. And we can take the robotics, put it in a 3D mode, and we can show you how they will perform. Construction, that's one of the clients we're working with right now. Construction build-outs, virtual models. We're working with a construction company and a franchise right now, and I'll show you some examples of that. To kind of validate the market, it's an emerging market. The technology, again, is there. We're just taking the technology and kind of refocusing in a different area. And a couple articles that came out, the Harvard Business Review has validated our concept. Collaboration creates a whole network of collaboration across the construction project, virtually, with a mobile platform. We can port the information back to a mobile phone, and the entire team can use that without excessive meetings, excessive calls, excessive punch lists. It's really a time saver, and again, it increases the level of collaboration. A good example of this, GE Predix. GE, huge turbine engines, railways, many other projects that they use. They're using it across the global platform. They're driving efficiency through their entire business model using 3D, using visualization. To us, that kind of validates our concept that we're on such a small scale, but I think we're on the right track. There's a few examples here at the bottom of some actual work we've created at the bottom of the slide here. I'd like to play this video, if it plays, and speak to this a little bit. And, yeah, that's not happening.
You're off a slide.
I'll have to speak to the slide. Let me go back. All right, I'll try to speak to the slides here. We have a 30-second slide. Basically, it's showing you what we can do with the animation, with the 3D, with the rendering of objects. We can take CAD information, we can take CAD objects, we can bring them into this environment, we can add textures, we can create different materials, different lighting, different colors. We can simulate the human activity that goes on in this environment. We can simulate forward inverse kinematics for robots. We can integrate motion, timing, sensors, transform different manufacturing lines, basically the push of a button. On the second video, what that is an actual project we're working on. It is a fitness studio. Basically, it's one of, at the end of this year, there'll be 1,500 of these studios. We're working with a construction company right now that will do approximately 15 build-outs a year. And if I could bring you through this, what it would show you would be a transformation of this desk into different colors, different height, different borders, and beyond that, different lighting, different flooring, different heights of the floor, and again, using 3D visualization to accomplish that. One of the things we've done in our market approach, it's very specific. We've only got the one, basically one construction company we're working with that does approximately 15 build-outs a year, and within that, they're working with a franchise. The franchise does approximately 190 build-outs a year, and we're working with a construction company, one of 12 that does the build-outs, and you'll see the financial model beyond that, that we're working with the one